Welcome to part 2. We're going to be setting up a Studio One file, exploring my struggle for clean microphone input, and taking a dip in the deep end with some config code. Let's get it done. We will start by opening my existing stream file so we can copy some things that already work. Then create a new blank file named One Person Live. Clean up the workspace a bit and rename the inputs. Input 1 and 2 will be labeled guitar and microphone, respectively. Let's copy the microphone input inserts from the stream file. I'll cover what I'm doing with those inserts later. 2 tracks are needed. One for our live guitar and mic. The tracks will add channels to the mixer, giving access to both monitor and further route the signals. It's nice to have some digital level meters on the channels as well. Bus channels will be useful for controlling and streaming all the tracks that will be dealt with as we progress. I'll start with Death Trap, PC, guitar effects and stereo, and OBS. I'll copy the PC and OBS bus inserts from the stream file. All channels and tracks we want routed to the stream will need sends to the OBS bus. Studio One defaults the send levels to -6 dB. I advise bumping that to Unity or 0 dB to start with. Here is a rough diagram of the signal paths. If you want more detail or my thought process on this, leave a comment. Not knowing what you're doing makes things difficult. Let's enjoy the misery of my struggle for a clean vocal. After hours of screwing with this crap, I finally have a halfway decent vocal that's reliably audible with what I feel at this point is the minimum amount of noise. So we have the signal going through a gate, which means all the quiet stuff doesn't get passed through. So as long as I'm not talking or making any noise, it should be dead silence. Then we go through this denoiser called Reefer. It uses a noise profile that I built by having it capture the ambient noise in the room without me moving around or banging on stuff or talking. And then it uses that profile to remove all that noise. In this case, my computer fan that's going right now as I'm talking and the fan above my head, they're still here. And as I'm quiet here in the next second, you'll see they still make noise, but you can't hear them. And that's kind of an example of that. So from there, we go through a compressor, which I'm getting some makeup gain and things so that I don't have to talk super, super loud. And then we go through a limiter in the event that I'm clapping, snapping, hooting, and hollering. It doesn't peak or redline on me. And then I've got a level meter because I like to see the dB numbers and not rely on these graphical pieces where I'm like, yeah, I can't quite tell exactly where it's at. It's almost -3. And yeah, I'm just geeky like that. I want the actual numbers. So I'm going to turn off all of these inserts and we're going to hear how it sounds without any of this. So there we go. That's how I sound without any of that stuff. So it's not too bad. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn on the compressor. So now my voice is going to come out a little more. I'll go ahead and turn that limiter on as well. The limiter happens to... So it makes the noise floor bounce up. Now you can really hear all those fans, which is a bit of a problem. I'll go ahead and turn on this level meter, which isn't hurting anything. So now let me turn on the denoiser, and all of a sudden, all that fuzzy shit is gone. It only took me hours and hours of figuring this out. I right now don't have an EQ on, but here if I turn on an EQ, there's me with a EQ. Here's an expander on it. And so the expander is kind of good. It just further separates the noise floor from my signal. Not necessary. It sounded okay without the EQ or the expander, but yeah, it's pretty nice. And then I'll just set this gate and let me raise that threshold a little on the gate. And there we go. A little bit more reliable as far as the audibility of my vocal. Before we dive into some config code, let's talk about the FCB 1010. This pedal board is a MIDI controller and does not process audio. It simply sends and receives MIDI signals. This is the FCB 1010 Manager, a companion application for expedited programming of the board. With the Manager, we have access to all 10 presets or pedals in all 10 banks. There are also fields for describing each bank and preset, noting our intent. Arguably, the best feature of this app is the simple send and receive commands that will transfer configurations to and from the board. I already have some basic programming to start off with. As this project progresses, there may be alterations. As of now, Bank 0 will automate the Studio One mixer. Pedals 1 and 2 in this bank send 2 signals each, allowing for a toggle between 2 operations using a single pedal press. The rest of the pedals will send only 1 signal. Bank 1 will send note values causing MIDI control to trigger operations within OBS, such as scene changes. Bank 9 sends a single unique signal for each pedal, differing from the ones in Bank 0. Bank 9 will be used to manipulate parameters of individual VST plugins. Time for some code. This is my favorite part of the video, but will probably put most people to sleep. Buried in the Studio One program directory, there is an XML file defining how Studio One interfaces with and perceives the FCB 1010. Looking at the FCB 1010.surface.xml file, it's possible to dissect exactly how the DAW expects the pedal board to behave. We need to make alterations based on this original file that will make Studio One expect the behaviors we've programmed. As we look at the tweaked file, notice that we've added 2 control tags to account for the doubling up of signals for pedals 1 and 2 on Bank 0. Additionally, we've added 10 more control tags to handle the 10 unique signals we expect to come from Bank 9. Essentially, we have told Studio One that the FCB 1010 has 22 unique pedals. Using this as a building block, it's possible to make every pedal in every bank have unique signals for a total of up to 100 uniquely assignable automations. If you have questions, want more details, or a more in-depth video on any of the topics in this episode, please leave a comment. If you enjoyed or found any of this entertaining, please do what everyone else on the platform says, like, subscribe, and all that jazz. Till next time, have fun.